People say success is built on talent, but the truth, it's built on consistency. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to get 1% better every single day, because small actions done daily become unstoppable momentum. This isn't about luck. It's about becoming the kind of person who refuses to quit. Success doesn't come from sudden, massive changes. It's not the result of one breakthrough, a lucky chance, or a big life-changing moment. It comes from small, steady improvements made every single day. The real secret to long-term success isn't found in dramatic jumps, but in the powerful effect of consistent progress. Improving just 1% each day might feel minor in the moment, but over time it leads to incredible results. Most people overlook the strength of small steps. They think progress must be fast and noticeable. They see successful individuals and assume they made it because of natural talent, intelligence, or special circumstances. But in reality, success is built through tiny choices, the quiet decisions made when no one else is watching. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck lies in the daily commitment to grow just a little. Every day, changing your life doesn't require huge efforts. It simply requires being consistent. If you get just 1% better each day, by year's end, you won't just improve by 365%. You'll be over 37 times better, thanks to the power of compounding. That's what separates average from exceptional. The difference between staying where you are and becoming someone completely transformed. Yet, most people never reach this point. They quit too early. They give up before compounding can do its job. They want quick results. And when progress doesn't appear fast enough, they stop. They go to the gym for a week, see no change, and quit. They start a habit, miss a few days, and abandon it. They take a few steps, but when growth feels slow, motivation fades. Successful people think differently. They know real change takes time. They don't chase perfection, and they don't expect to be 100% better in a single day. They focus on steady, consistent progress, understanding that each effort builds on the last. They trust the process. They show up day after day. They put in the work, even when it seems like nothing's happening. Because they stick with it, they eventually reach heights others only imagine. The real secret isn't about big changes. It's about mastering the basics, the small habits, the tiny improvements, the details that seem unimportant today, but build unstoppable momentum over time. If you focus on improving just a bit more than you were yesterday, those gains will compound, and before long, your life will be completely different. So the real question is, how do you do it? How do you stay committed to being just 1% better each day? How do you stay consistent when results are slow? How do you build a system that guarantees daily growth no matter how small? It all comes down to a few simple principles. When these are applied consistently, they become the foundation for a lifetime of improvement. Once you understand and use them, you won't feel stuck again. You won't question whether success is meant for you. You'll know that as long as you're making progress, even a little, your future is getting brighter. Because the truth is, getting 1% better each day isn't just a strategy, it's a mindset. It's a way of life. Once you fully commit to the process, everything begins to shift. The first key to improving by 1% each day is mastering consistency. Small improvements only multiply when they're repeated over time. A single burst of effort won't create lasting change, but daily, steady effort will. Most people find consistency difficult. They start with energy and enthusiasm, but that energy fades quickly. They're motivated at first, but when progress is slow, they lose interest. They wait for inspiration instead of developing discipline. And because they lack consistency, they never experience the true impact of small, repeated improvements. If you want to become unstoppable, consistency has to become non-negotiable. It can't be something you do only when you're in the mood. It must become a part of who you are. You don't brush your teeth only when you feel like it. You do it because it's a habit. You don't debate it. You don't make excuses. That's exactly how you must treat self-improvement. The first step to being consistent is dropping the perfection mindset. Most people fail because they expect too much from themselves. They think if they can't do something perfectly, they shouldn't do it at all. They say, if I don't have an hour to work out, I won't work out. If I can't read a full chapter, I won't read anything. This all or nothing mindset is the quickest path to staying stuck. Successful people think differently. They remove the pressure to be perfect. If they can't do an hour, they do 10 minutes. If they can't do 10, they do 2. They understand that something is always better than nothing. They don't prioritize intensity, they prioritize consistency. They've trained themselves to take some action every day, no matter how small. The second key is building systems instead of relying on motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Some days you'll feel inspired, other days you won't. If you only take action when you're motivated, you'll never stay consistent. The solution is to create systems that make taking action automatic. Systems reduce the need for willpower. They remove the guesswork. They make it easier to follow through than to skip. A system can be simple. Set a specific time for your habits. If you want to improve your fitness, schedule workouts at the same time every day. If you want to become a better reader, read at consistent time, even if it's just 5 minutes. If you want to learn a skill, set aside a small block of time daily to practice. The more structured your habits, the less energy it takes to stay consistent. The third key is tracking your progress to build momentum. Progress builds confidence. When you see even small signs of improvement, your motivation grows, but most people don't track their progress. They miss the small, and because they don't notice fast results, they assume they're not improving. This leads to frustration, and frustration often leads to quitting. But successful people track their habits daily. They use simple systems, a notebook, a calendar, a checklist, to visually track their consistency. When they work out, they mark it down. When they practice a skill, they log it. And as they watch the streak grow, their motivation builds. This turns progress into a game, one where every small win feels like a reward and quitting feels like losing. The next step is removing obstacles to consistency. Many people struggle to stay consistent because their environment works against them. They rely on willpower instead of creating a space that supports their habits. If your phone is filled with distractions, you'll find it hard to focus. If your kitchen is packed with junk food, eating healthy becomes a challenge. If your home is cluttered, your productivity suffers. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you might think. Successful people design their environment for success. If they want to read more, they keep books visible and accessible. If they want to exercise, they lay out their workout clothes the night before. If they want to eat healthy, they remove temptations and set themselves up to win. They don't depend on willpower. They build environments that make good habits easy. The next important step is making identity-based decisions. Most people focus on what they want to do. I want to eat healthier. I want to wake up early. I want to be more disciplined. But they don't work on becoming the kind of person who naturally does those things. Successful people don't just create new habits, they adopt a new identity. Instead of saying, I want to work out, they say, I'm the kind of person who never skips a workout. Instead of saying, I want to read more, they say, I'm someone who learns something new every day. Instead of saying, I want to be more productive, they say, I make the most of every hour. When you shift your identity, taking action becomes effortless. You don't have to force yourself. You act because it's part of who you are. And when your actions align with your identity, small improvements happen naturally. So ask yourself, am I trying to change my actions? Or am I changing my identity? Am I waiting for motivation, or am I building systems? Am I letting perfection hold me back? Or am I choosing progress over excuses? Because once you master consistency, you unlock the true power of small improvement. And when you improve by just 1% every day, nothing can stand in your way. The next key to improving 1% daily is stacking small wins. Progress is built on momentum. Small victories create confidence. They reinforce your belief that you're moving forward. The more small wins you collect, the easier it becomes to keep improving. But most people overlook their value. They believe success only comes from big breakthroughs, that massive progress is the only proof that they're on track. But that mindset is flawed. Every major achievement in history was built on the back of small, consistent steps that compounded over time. The first step to stacking wins is focusing on progress, not perfection. Perfection is a trap. It keeps people stuck. It creates fear around taking action. It creates unrealistic expectations that lead to frustration. But progress is different. Progress is about moving forward, no matter how small the step. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be better than yesterday. If you do one more rep in the gym, that's a win. If you read one more page than yesterday, that's a win. If you wake up 5 minutes earlier, that's a win. These small improvements might seem insignificant, but stacked daily, they create unstoppable momentum. The second step is setting micro goals that lead to bigger achievements. Most people set massive goals but never break them down into manageable pieces. They look at the big picture and feel overwhelmed. They focus on how far they have to go instead of what they can do right now. And because they feel overwhelmed, they do nothing. But successful people think differently. They don't just set big goals, they break them into tiny winnable actions. If their goal is to read 50 books in a year, they don't focus on 50 books. They focus on reading a few pages each day. If their goal is to build a business, they don't try to do everything at once. They complete one small task at a time. If their goal is to get fit, they don't aim for perfection. They aim to make one healthier choice every day. They understand massive results come from tiny, repeated efforts. They don't focus on the finish line. They focus on winning today. The third step is celebrating small wins to reinforce progress. Your brain is wired for reward. When you acknowledge your wins, your brain releases dopamine, boosting your motivation and strengthening your habits. But most people ignore these wins. They only celebrate big milestones. And because those milestones take time, they feel like they're not making progress. Successful people do the opposite. They celebrate every step forward. They track their workouts and celebrate even the smallest improvements. They keep a journal of daily progress, even if it's just one sentence about what they did right. They give themselves credit for showing up, for following through. And because they recognize progress, they stay motivated to keep moving. The fourth step is compounding your wins. Success is built like a staircase. Each small step builds on the one before it. If you improve by just 1% each day, those tiny wins multiply. What starts small today becomes a massive advantage tomorrow. Think of it like compound interest. Invest a little every day, and over time, the growth becomes exponential. It's the same with self-improvement. The first few days may feel slow. The progress might seem invisible. But the longer you stay consistent, the faster things start to change. Most people quit too soon. They stop before the compounding kicks in. But the ones who stick with it, they experience life-changing transformation. The final step is shifting your identity to become someone who always wins. Most people see success as something they achieve, but the most successful people, they see success as something they are. They don't just aim for growth, they embody it. They don't just chase goals, they become the kind of person who naturally wins every day. They don't say, I want to improve. They say, I'm the type of person who improves constantly. They don't say, I hope to succeed. They say, I am a winner. Success is who I am. When you change your identity, you change your reality. Because your actions will always align with who you believe you are. If you want to improve by 1% every day, you must change the way you see yourself. Instead of saying, I want to be productive, say, I am the type of person who takes action every day. Instead of saying, I want to be disciplined, say, I am someone who follows through no matter what. Instead of saying, I hope I get better, say, I improve every single day. Your actions will always align with your identity. If you see yourself as someone who always wins, you will find a way to win, even in the hardest situations. If you see yourself as someone who improves every day, you will naturally look for ways to get better. Your habits follow your self-procedure. So ask yourself, am I waiting for big wins, or am I stacking small wins every day? Am I aiming for perfection, or am I focused on progress? Am I tracking and celebrating my success, or am I ignoring the progress I've already made? Because once you commit to small daily wins, success becomes inevitable. And once you develop the habit of stacking wins, the next key to improving by 1% every day is this: developing an unstoppable mindset. Growth is not just about action, it's about the way you think. It's about the way you see yourself, the way you handle challenges, and the way you push through resistance. When things get tough, most people sabotage their progress. Why? Because they haven't trained their mind to support their success. They let fear, doubt, and hesitation take over. They start strong, but when it gets difficult, they say, "This is too hard. I'm not good enough. Maybe this isn't for me." And just like that, they stop. They break their streak. They lose momentum. And they return to the old version of themselves. But successful people, they think differently. They don't wait for things to get easier. They don't wait to feel confident. They don't let temporary emotions dictate their long-term goals. They build a mindset so strong that nothing, no setback, no challenge, no failure can stop them. Step 1, rewrite your self-picture. Most people see themselves as limited. They tell themselves stories like, "I'm not disciplined, I've never been good at this, I'm just not that kind of person." And because they believe these things, they act in ways that reinforce them. But if you want to improve by 1% every day, you must upgrade your identity. You must tell yourself a new story. Instead of saying, "I struggle with consistency," say, "I am someone who shows up every single day." Instead of saying, "I've never been confident," say, "I am becoming more confident every day." Instead of saying, "I'm not disciplined," say, "I am committed to my growth." Because your mind will believe whatever you tell it most often. If you tell it you're weak, you'll act weak. If you tell it you're strong, you'll act strong. If you tell it you're unstoppable, you'll push through any challenge in your path. Step 2, develop mental resilience. The ability to keep moving forward, no matter what. Most people quit too soon. The moment resistance shows up, they stop. They say, "This isn't working, this is too much." But success is not about avoiding resistance. It's about pushing through it. Think of it like lifting weights. Your muscles only grow when they're under pressure. Your mind is the same. The first few reps, they're easy. But the moment you start feeling the burn, that's when growth happens. If you stop when it gets uncomfortable, you never build strength. The same applies to success. The moment things get hard, that's when mental toughness is built. That's when you push forward, not give up. Step 3, turn obstacles into fuel. Most people see problems as roadblocks. They think, if things were easier, I'd be successful. But successful people, they use every obstacle as fuel. They ask, how can this make me stronger? When they fail, they analyze and learn. When they're rejected, they come back stronger. When things go wrong, they look for the lesson. They know that struggle isn't a sign to quit, it's proof they're growing. Step 4, build emotional control. Most people let emotions control their actions. If they feel motivated, they act. If they feel tired, they make excuses. If they feel discouraged, they stop. But successful people, they take action no matter what. They know motivation comes and goes, but commitment is what gets results. They train themselves to act even when they don't feel like it. They learn to detach from emotion and lock in on the mission. And because they act consistently, their emotions begin to follow their actions, not the other way around. Step 5, condition your mind for long-term success. Success is not a short-term game. It's not about quick wins. It's about the ability to improve for years. And to do that, you must train your mind to stay hungry. Most people get comfortable. They reach a milestone and think this is enough. But successful people, they never settle. They keep pushing. They keep growing. They keep finding ways to get 1% better even when they're already ahead. That's what separates people who succeed once from those who succeed again and again. The greatest athletes, the greatest leaders, the greatest minds in history, they didn't stop when they got ahead. They pushed harder because they understood the moment you stop growing is the moment you start declining. So ask yourself, am I thinking like someone who improves every day? Am I making excuses or pushing through resistance? Am I using challenges to grow or letting them hold me back? So stop waiting for motivation. Stop chasing perfection. Stack the small wins. Push through the resistance. Train your mind to believe you are unstoppable. Because the person who gets 1% better every day, becomes the person no one can compete with. And that person is you.